Okay, welcome everybody to the very first box gathering campfire. Okay, so what is a campfire? A campfire is anything that we want to discuss. So you kind of imagine people sat around a campfire at night, but talking boxing. So it could be anything from a review of a bout. It could be a literature review, certain books that have come out, publications, journals, something topical that's come out in the world of sport, the world of boxing, and definitely around coach education and coach development. So who's going to do those? There'll be a team of us all jumping on at different times. I think the point of our campfires when we all had the discussion was that what we wanted to do is capture everybody's requests of what they'd like to talk about. So rather than just something a group of us want to talk about, it's people bringing topics to the table and we can sit around and campfire and talk about those and basically try and put the world to rights as much as possible. Imagine us with a pint in the hand, sitting around a table in a pub, not socially distanced, but very close and chatting away. So those are the campfires. So the very first one we're going to do today is a review of the unbelievable bout last night. So Katie Taylor versus Delfine Persoon 2. Priya, over to you.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah, like Adam said, we're going to be reviewing the Taylor versus Persoon rematch. And we've got Adam, Rachel and Liam with us today to discuss that. Wave, everyone. So I think firstly, I want to just start off by saying how unbelievably well women's boxing and boxing as a sport was represented by the two women yesterday. I mean, the amount of respect and integrity and determination that, from start to finish was just unbelievable. Delfine sort of said towards the end, she took the decision very, very well, and we'll come back to that. And I think Taylor sort of summed it up as well, quite well, when she said that, we did something, and I'm paraphrasing here, but we did something really amazing for women's boxing tonight. So just coming back to the decision, Taylor won on a points decision. A lot of the commentators were saying that, it was a very clear win this time for Taylor. She came in with the cleaner work. Delfine really took it on the chin, literally, and, at the end as well, when she said that, she definitely won it this time, and she didn't dispute the decision. Do we think it was as clear cut as that, Adam? What do you think?
Well, it was 98, 93, 96, 94, 96, 94, and I know a lot of people were quite aghast at the 98, 93 in favour of Taylor. Personally, I wasn't scoring it as a 10-9. I was just going round like that. I had it 5-all. I had it as a draw, and I don't think many people could have really argued too much with the draw. But if you look, I'm sure like most people, everyone jumped on Facebook straight away. Everyone jumped on whatever WhatsApp group they're involved in straight away, and then you've got loads of people going, "Oh, cleaner work, Taylor," and no, the pressure and the volume came from Persoon, and she was much more effective. It's one of those, but I suppose that's why it's such a sort of great conversation point. What do you reckon, Rach? How do you have it?
To be honest, I had it pretty much the same as you. Very even. Thought it was a lot closer than last time. It's styles that make fights, and I would not have liked to have been judging that, just because who do you go with? The cleaner work, the more clinical tactician, or the pressure fighter and the person who just takes the pace of the fight. So a really tough one for me.
What do you reckon, Liam?
So I had it, I think it's one of them, but like Rachel has said, it's one of those styles make fights, but it's also down to the tactics you use as well. I think if you decide to go and box on your back foot like Taylor did, and a couple of points I made that maybe we'll come on to later, was hitting and moving is some judges' preference of style of boxing. Some is just coming forward using sheer attrition and volume. But I felt maybe Taylor could have maybe done a little bit more in certain cases to make it a bit cleaner. The first 3 rounds I thought was brilliant. You can't falter at all. But then it's obviously easier said than done. And you've got someone like Persoon in front of you. But it turned into more of like what the judges would prefer, like Rachel said. I wouldn't have complained if it had been Persoon, if they had got the bout. But like I say, I personally prefer Taylor's style of boxing, so I would have given it to Taylor 96, 94.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I think the first 3 rounds were very clearly Taylor, I think Persoon started to get to her and sort of involve her in a bit of a brawl sort of there on in, and I think it was much harder for Taylor after the first 3 rounds. You know, I mean, the first 2 especially stood out for me in terms of the clean work. You know, you could really see her kind of amateur background coming in there. She was moving her feet, adjusting her feet. She was picking her shots really intelligently. I think Taylor boxed incredibly intelligently in the first couple of rounds. Maybe she was starting to get to her sort of towards the end of the third. You know, but when you look at the second compared to the first fight, you know, I do think Taylor performed better. I mean, I watched the last round of the first fight, sort of, you know, straight after the second one had finished, actually, and Persoon was just absolutely relentless. She definitely brought that again last night in the rematch, but you know, I liked the cleaner work from Taylor. You know, I think it's going to be one of those fights where you look at it and go, and like Rachel was saying, I would not have wanted to be judging that, because part of me feels like none of them actually deserved to lose last night. To be honest with you, I'd have been quite. I think maybe a fair decision. I don't think it would have been unfair to score it as a draw, but you know, I'm happy that Taylor won. You know, she is, you know, my favourite boxer. But you know, what do we think about? I mean, about Ross Eneme's corner work. I mean, what he was saying to her in the corner. Did anyone sort of pick up on that? Did anyone sort of have any comments about that?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I caught coming after the 7th round where he said she was holding her feet too long, which I totally agreed with. I mean, obviously I can't speak Belgian, so I can't understand what was going on speaking in his corner. But yeah, the advice from the corner I thought was pretty spot on. From the 7th round onwards, she was holding her feet a little bit too long, hitting and moving, which is brilliant. But ultimately, the coach, Taylor's coach, was totally right. You're not capitalising on some of the mistakes that Sue's making, which again, we've all seen easier said than done. But she's hitting and moving, but when Persoon's coming square on, falling over her front foot, chin in the air, she could have gone twice, which is what she was doing in the first 3 rounds to perfection. But she couldn't sustain that really after like 10 rounds. But I thought the corner work was spot on, keeping her calm. As well, helping her to her feet, trying to take the weight off her legs. Yeah, so I thought the corner were pretty spot on with what they were doing, Katie Taylor. But like I say, appreciate it. We've all boxed before. We know it's a lot easier said than done. Someone like Sue to try and go 2 phases over 10 rounds.
Yeah, I think that Taylor did really well, sticking to the game plan, and her corner helped with that, reminding her just the little things as she started tiring, and she did really well not to get frustrated. She didn't play into Delphine's game at all. She didn't hold her feet. You know, towards the end, she needed a couple of reminders from the corner. You know, don't stand and trade, don't hold your feet. But I think she did very well using the outside of the ring and not getting drawn in, because she knew from the off that she needed to box. And if she did stand and trade, it'd probably be a loss for her.
I gave, I'm just sort of looking at a couple of little random notes I made last night as I was watching it. And I gave Persoon 6, 7 and 8. And when someone who's fit and relentless wins 6, 7 and 8, you're thinking, she's going to even get better and go on to 9 and 10. So I was actually thinking, this ain't going to go Taylor's way now, because it's the momentum's going in Persoon's way. But I saw on round 9 and 10, I thought she started adjusting brilliantly. You know, like you say, Lim, she wasn't holding her feet anymore. She was starting to adjust, and she was starting to counter. And when I was shouting, throw the rear hand, let her walk onto her rear hand. And then when she put the left hook on the end of it and spun her around, it's like, I think that's all you need to do. She was open for that rear hand. She ain't got much head movement, is she? She'll take 5 to give 1, that girl. So I just thought that there were important tactics, and when she did start really getting on a bike and properly popping and moving rather than holding her feet, and that was just played into her hands early on, especially in 6, 7 and 8. What do you think?
I think that's the combination that actually injured her in the second round. Early on in the second round, I think she broke her nose, but you could see her face had really swollen up. I'm pretty sure it was the second round, and it was a hook where Taylor spun off that actually caused that injury early on. just still astonishes me that they both just carried on. It was just unbelievable.
There's a bit of head though, wasn't there, as well? I think Taylor came in a little bit low. She was complaining about the head. I think that did a little bit of damage, maybe added to it as well.
Yeah, I think the ref did go over to them and say it happened as a result of a punch.
Did he say that?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. He did go over at the end of the round and said that was a punch. But you know, I mean, Delphine's incredibly experienced, and you know, she was in there. You know, she was in there roughing her up like a pro, basically. You know, trying to ruin her amateur style. You know, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But I sort of wonder, is Taylor ever going to face, or if is either of them ever going to face another opponent as tough as each other?
Well, she wasn't due to box the, I've forgotten what her name is. Is it Serrano?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was due to box her. I don't know much about her. What's she like? Has she got the potential blueprint to beat Taylor?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I haven't watched her enough. If I'm honest, I haven't watched Serrano enough to be able to comment. I mean, I don't know about Liam or Rachel.
I don't think there's anyone out there, personally, in my opinion, that will beat Katie Taylor for a very long time. I mean, it'd be one of those things where, obviously we call it father time, but in this case it'd be mother time, I'm assuming is the term we'd use, but we'd catch up with her over time. Or the only other way I can see it is if she takes a bit of a gamble and decides to be one of these multi-weight world champions and she chews off more than she can handle and she goes up too far and physically she can't handle it, which is based on the two fights she's had with Delfine, is quite realistic. I mean, if she can't handle Delfine, who freely admits herself that she's really a super featherweight, she ate too much, she was saying afterwards, can't handle a blown up super featherweight, how are you going to handle like a welter who is a big welterweight coming at you? And that might be her undoing, but that again would say a lot more about her courage and bravery and ambition than it would her technical boxing ability. Like I said, and then the only other time is another time, unless you get the new young lioness come along, maybe, dare I say it, in 6 years' time, you get her like a Caroline Dubois, if she ever turns over, someone like that, or you know, someone like that come over, and it's like changing the mantle, changing the throne as such. That's the only time I can really see a lightweight anyone beating Katie Taylor, because she's such a phenomenal boxer at the end of the day.
What about Jonas? Has she got a chance?
No, I don't. No, I don't mean Natasha's. I think Natasha's fantastic. All the women's boxing recently and has been absolutely brilliant. You can't fault. I think the ladies have stolen the show at fight camp, personally. But I don't think Natasha's got, unfortunately, that level of skill set to be able to beat her over 12 rounds. I mean, if you watch the Olympic Games bout, it was Taylor was just a little bit level above her, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Particularly, again, I think Natasha's 36. Correct me if I'm wrong. Something like that, similar age. So I don't think she'll be able to handle that at the moment. Like I said before, I think a younger boxer will come along and it'll just be changing the mantelpiece, or she bites off more than she can chew, would probably be Katie Taylor at this period of time.
Yeah,
and I think there's a lot coming through in there, Rach. There's a lot coming through, you know, the younger boxers that you can see just about the turnover.
Yeah, there is. It's exciting. And, you know, women's boxing professional, even, you know, 10 years ago, it wasn't anything like it is now. And it's such an attractive option for a lot of young girls, and the talent that's coming through and quite quickly as well. So, you know, the next couple of years are going to be quite interesting, I think.
Absolutely.
I mean, I definitely. Sorry, go on. Wait, if you're coming.
No, I was just going to say, going on to on from Liam's point, I think this is probably the closest we'll ever see Taylor, because I don't think there is anyone else that is so evenly matched with her, and it is just the styles as well. I think the styles together, it was hard for both of them, and it was hard for Taylor. She knew that it was a bit of a risk for her again after what happened last time, and I just wondered what everyone's opinions were. Do we think, did she just have an off day last time? She performed, in my opinion, a lot better this time, and she did promise everyone in the lead up to the fight that this would be a career best performance. What do you guys think? Was this Taylor at her best?
Ooh, there's a question. Was it Taylor at her best? I think it was Taylor who made a lot better adjustments from the first fight. You sort of, after the first fight, you thought, you know what she needs to do now, and you know they're going to go away and really, really work on these tactics and get it right. And she executed pretty well. You know, it's hard to really execute the tactics against Delfine, because it doesn't matter how much you move, she's still going to keep coming. And even if you throw 3 or 4, even if you hit her with a big shot, she'll still walk through that. You see what I mean? I thought she needed to, when she did hold her feet, she needed to throw 2 or 3 big hard shots to keep her off, then adjust, rather than just one shot and move. I think she needed to really kind of like get her attention, get her respect a little bit. I think she's still got a lot more to offer. I mean, as Liam mentioned earlier, when she was throwing the shots, she was coming away with her hands down and her chin right up in the air, like she's trying to look out of her window onto the roof of the house, and she was getting caught, you know, and that wasn't helping her. So I think there's a lot of tactical things you can deal with. But when you're under pressure, you know, things like that happen, don't you? You're under pressure, you step back, you take a breather for a second, you get caught by some nutcase who's throwing 5 shots combinations at you all the time. So I don't think she was at her best, but I like the fact that she did adjust and tactically boxed really, really well.
I think that I would say probably, I definitely agree that I think she's got a lot more to give. But I think in terms of her ability to handle what she handled last night, I think that was probably the most that she's going to get tested for us to, do you know what I mean? So for me, we did see her at her best last night, because I think that's the most that she's ever been or ever will be tested in the pro ranks. In terms of her improvement from the last fight to this one, I think the 2 fights have basically developed her as a fighter, no doubt, probably more than what her previous pro fights have done. I think this is the one that's really kind of forced her to up her game, up her level, and really just do what she does best, but just to a higher level and in a more sustained way. You know, do I see her improving? I think yes, but I also am doubtful that there's anyone else out there that can test her for us to actually be able to see that. Liam, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, I think she's shown qualities there personally that you can't sort of teach. Their qualities, these type of fights that you have, they show sort of your more physical, your more mental qualities. You know, how far can you go to the trenches? Those sort of qualities. No one disputes their technical and tactical ability. Those sort of fights with Delfine and the really hard ones, they test your sort of how much do you really want to be undisputed queen of your division? How much do you really want this? They're the type of questions he's asked. But I also feel it sort of silences the old pros, and I mean that in the nicest way possible, because I think one of the themes of the last night's fight camp as well was how much, and I've noted, is how much a great amateur background benefits a boxer in the pros. You look at, just to off a little bit of a tangent, but I'll bring it back round. If you look at the 3 main fights, which were Congo versus Clay, Taylor versus Persoon, and then Dylan White versus Povetkin, if you look at all the winners last night, they had a fantastic amateur background in their respective careers, whether it be Chris Congo as a Team GB athlete against the old school pro in Luther Clay. Obviously, Taylor versus Persoon, who took up boxing a bit late, but had that typical pro styler coming forward, but, you know, heavy-handed, won't leave you alone, relentless. And then you obviously have Dylan White, who had limited amateur experience against Olympic gold medalists and whatever Povetkin's done as an amateur in Russia. But their skill sets shone through, and particularly in Taylor versus Persoon, those skill sets were always there, but the old pros would always have that criticism of that sort of question mark of, you know, when it gets to 8, 9 and 10, how much can she dig deep? And these 2 fights, like you said, have definitely answered those questions. She can dig deep, but they're sort of, if she didn't have that amateur background, she didn't have those skill sets, her life would have been a lot more difficult over those 20 rounds they've now shared. So that amateur background has definitely helped her, along with being able to dig deep and stuff like that. It's silenced those doubters. And like I say, based on those 2 performances and 16 fight shows, there's no one I don't think will get near her for at least another 5-4 years until someone else comes along. But she's proved a lot of people, I say, she has got the skill sets, but she's got the courage and the bravery, and the mental resilience and the mental toughness to go with it as well.
And what about Persoon, though? What do we think's next for her?
An ice bath.
I was going to say something that, you know, head in an ice bucket, I think. Wow, that's a tough one to answer. I'm not sure I'm not sure I can answer that really, unless they're going to go for a trilogy.
I mean, in terms of money, you probably Katie Taylor again, top lady in the division in women's boxing. She's probably also in that category of your Anthony Joshua's, your Alvarez's. She is the cash cow.
Yeah.
In terms of making a big paycheck. The third one would make sense. I'd pay 20 quid to watch a third one, just entirely by itself, let alone an undercard that goes with it.
And I think, sorry, go on, Karen.
In terms of challenges, I mean, like I say, the women's boxing is brilliant, and the fact they can move up and down weight classes. There's probably other opponents out there that she can box, but I personally wouldn't want to go near her unless you're paying me a lot of money. I wouldn't want to go near her. I think it should be an hard 10 rounds. But maybe
I think physically as well. Sorry to interrupt, mate. I think physically, both of these don't need this bout again. You know, in terms of longevity and health, they don't need, this bout again. Taylor's got both the wins. And I think this time, if they were to box again, and maybe they're tempted because, it's a big draw and everyone would love to watch it again, I think Taylor pulls away this time. I think she's definitely got a number. I think Persoon, with all the heart and courage and integrity that she's got, she's one trick. And I think she would work her out. It would still be a very hard day, but I don't think it would be, like I had it 5-5 and most of them had it 6-4, that type of thing. I think it starts getting like 7-3, 8-2, that kind of thing. She'll have a few moments where she catches her, but I think she's got that, as you say, she's got that amateur pedigree where she can adapt and work out. But I think Persoon is just hard as nails and will walk most people down. But has she got a plan B? Could she sit on the back foot and catch Taylor as she came in? Don't think so. You see what I mean? So I think bout 3 is easier if it does happen.
Yeah. And how long at a certain age can you sustain? Can you actually keep hold of that durability and that ability to take the kind of shots that she was taking last night? I mean, it has a expiry date in terms of health and everything else. So,
How old is Persoon?
I think she's about 35.
35, 36. Taylor's just slightly younger than that. But I just wanted to pick up on something Liam said that actually made me smile, because I think that in itself, and just to sum up this chat as well, I think it sums up just how far women's boxing's come. That, Liam's just said, I would pay 20 quid just to watch the third fight, never mind the undercards, never mind anything else. I would pay to watch that fight again. And for me, that just signifies, and I'm sure a lot of people would feel the same way, and a lot of people probably did pay money, actually more, to see the Taylor fight than they did the main event. Do you know what I mean? Which, and I'm not, I don't think I'm wrong in saying that, but it just to me symbolises how far in a relatively short space of time, when you think that women's boxing was only accepted into the Olympics in 2012. We've only been in there 2 Olympics. It would have been obviously the 3rd this year. But it just to me signifies how far women's boxing's come. And one of the commentators yesterday said, it's not women's boxing, it is boxing, and it's boxing at its finest. And I think Taylor and Persoon, Harper and Jonas last week, they just absolutely, really solidified women in the sport. So, it's been an incredible couple of weeks.
Long way to continue. Okay, guys. Thanks very much. It's great dissecting it. It's a shame we haven't got a pint in the hand and whatnot, but it's great dissecting it. Amazing night's boxing. You got to kind of doff your cap to Eddie Hearn and all the stuff that he's doing and being sort of adaptable as a fight promoter, as we're trying to be as coaches. So great chatting to everyone. Just a heads up for those people who are listening now, there is a review of Dillian Whyte versus Povetkin, which is had its own sensational moments in there as well, and that will be going out very, very soon. In fact, I think the guys who are involved in that campfire are chatting any moment now. So keep your eye out for that, guys. Thanks very much. Really enjoyed it, guys.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
See you next time.
See ya.
Cheers, guys.